Hello again YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today's video we are going to be talking about a little cute carnivorous plant called a Cephalotus. Cephalotus are an Australian carnivorous plant and I have been told that I don't do enough videos on them, so here is a video on some Cephalotus. Now, first off, by no means do I consider myself an expert grower at these guys. I feel they do okay for me. They sort of struggle and limp along. I'm going to show you a few, and then what I'll do is I'll just tell you a little bit about the care and culture of them that I provide, and maybe you guys provide a different care and culture and that works good for you guys. It seems like there's 100 ways to take care of them and there's 50 ways that work. So anyways, the first one I had here, this was actually a seed that I planted last year, so that's kind of cool. It's coming along great. The sun just came out in the greenhouse. So it's kind of a partially cloudy day. It's going to go bright and dark and bright and dark. And here is another one. This was a root pulling I did. So it's coming along nicely as well. I'm going to talk about the media in a second that I used there. I won't quite touch base on it yet. What is this? This was another seedling. It's just about to start to get some adult leaves and pitchers going. That's kind of nice. The first seedling was a coal mine beech. That's a red form. Here is another decent Cephalotus. Lots of growth. I have some holes in a lot of the pots for extra air and drainage down there. And I just recently potted these two up. They were my biggest ones, but they were kind of limping along. So anyways, I potted them up into bigger pots. So I really tried not to disturb the roots when I did it, but they went from a 4-inch pot to a 6-inch pot where they can just sort of grow and hopefully thrive. I did put some holes in the pot there as well. I planted them high up, sort of on a mound. They kind of grow on the side of hills in the wild, so I wanted to try to mimic that a bit. As opposed to planting them in a depression, I wanted to plant them on top of a mound. So they're very slow growers. I do give them quite a bit of full sun actually. Almost too much, I think. I could probably back it off a little bit. And there's some new pitchers coming out down here. They're sort of rolling down the mound. This is a new growth since I planted it. The top on this one, it just slowly stopped growing, but it's got a few different growth points out the bottom. I'm not sure why that top stopped growing, but I'm glad it has the extra shoots off the bottom here. This one here, it has a dead pitcher on it right there. I don't know if you can see that one. I don't like to remove them until they're very, very dead, but that one looks pretty dead. Why don't we remove that together? Hold on, I'm going to grab some scissors. See if I can do this without bumping the mic. Alright, so two of the handiest tools I have is a fine pair of tweezers here. I'm not going to bother focusing on them. And a very fine pair of scissors as well. And from there we can just go in and give it a cut off. Make sure you're not cutting anything you're not supposed to. I always would wait till these things are dried up before I did any kind of cutting on them. And there we go. So I just remove that one, get it out of there, frees up some space to let some light into the plant for other pitchers to grow. And yeah, so I do top water these guys. I never ever get the plants wet if I can help it. When I top water, I water just around the edges here, and I'll water just enough so it trickles out the bottom, and then I do let them go quite dry before I re-water. I just sort of poke around with my finger and dig down a bit and see if it's still moist down below, and if it is, I don't bother watering. Now, one thing I do look for when I know they're starting to get dry, the little tops here are going to start to sag in if they are getting a little dehydrated. So I don't sit them in water ever. I'm really scared of root rot, so I keep them just barely wet sort of thing. Maybe I'm paranoid about it, I don't know. But anyways, what I'll do now is I'll show you the mix that I use. I just so happen to have it all done up here. Move a few things around. So hopefully you can see that okay. So there are the 4 main ingredients I use. All right, I'm going to get my scissors out here. I'll lay the scissors down and the tweezers down on there too so you can see what I use. I use those tools for everything. But anyways, we have peat moss. So I use about 1/4 peat moss in my mix, silica sand, perlite, and this is the natural aquarium gravel. It's just the natural stuff. You don't want to get the stuff that's colored. It's going to have paint on it and a higher pH because it's not a real rock. Where the natural stuff has a neutral pH for the most part, and all of this is just allowing for good drainage. So I usually mix them up about 25% each. And the mix kind of looks like this. It's quite rocky, really well draining. And that's sort of what I use for my Cephalotus mix. Again, I'm sure there's 100 different mixes that you can use, but this seems to work for me. So it looks kind of like that when it's dry. And that's what I plant them up in. There's again a look at those two tools that I use. I absolutely love them. They are fantastic. It doesn't want to focus, there we go, on them, but I use these things for everything. You can get in so fine and like cut the tiniest little thing with those scissors and they stay nice and sharp. So anyways, that is a little bit of care on Cephalotus. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got a few tips. If you have any tips for me, feel free to leave them. As I say, I've only been growing them for about a year and a half. I feel I'm having mild success with them. They're a slow grower. Nothing has died on me, so that's good. I find the pitchers, for me, they start to look a little ratty, seemingly a little sooner than I think they should, but maybe they're right on schedule. This plant looks really nice right now. But anyways, bye guys.